Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to Trip Talks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business story, and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome JP, or Jonathan Plotzker-Kelly, to the show. Jonathan is the founder of Heliotrope San Francisco and Heliotrope CBD.com, which creates all natural skincare product lines. And today I'm going to ask Jonathan a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his business. So thank you so much for joining me today at Trip Talks.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
So let's get into a little bit about your startup story. What really motivated you to create a skincare line products brand?
That's a loaded question. It started because I lost my last job. Um,
Okay.
I've been in retail forever. I mean, I'm much older than I look, which is actually a good thing when you're in skincare. I can tell people in my story that I'm 58, and they say, "Really? Oh my God, what do you use?" And I just show them my product line. So I've been in retail about, I don't know, close to well, more than 35 years, let's say that. And I've worked for all the big companies, including some of your followers might know Bare Essentials. Now it's called Bare Minerals. When I worked there back in the 90s, it was really more focused on skincare and body care and less on cosmetics. That has since flipped. But I learned the business then. Certainly, I worked with a bunch of local chemists. I learned all about aromatherapy. I learned about essential oils. I learned about kind of the basics of skincare and body care without becoming a chemist. I never had an interest in becoming a chemist. So years later, when I had cycled through a number of other really great jobs, I worked for a company that was shrinking and my job was eliminated. And I thought, now's the chance. This is about 12 years ago. And I just picked up the phone and I contacted some of the chemists I had worked with before. And I said, "Hey, remember me?" And they're like, "Oh my God, JP, of course, let's work together." So it was really that simple. I just needed something to light a fire under me. And at the time, three of my best friends were sole business owners.
Hmm.
In various, one was in service, one was and two were in product.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, if nothing else, I've got three great mentors who I'm surrounded by. So that's really how it started.
That's, really interesting because a lot of times people start businesses because they think, something is missing in the products or, the way a business is being done or, industry needs to be disrupted. But this was really just a way for you to uh, self-employ yourself, I guess.
Well,
But
and to seek some fulfillment on my own. And it's interesting you mentioned what was missing in the marketplace. What really made it come together for me was I was looking for a shower gel that had no perfume. And at the time, fragrance free was not quite as popular as it is today. Today, you can go and find any number of products that have no added scent. Back in 2009, 2010, that wasn't really the case. So when I was seeking out a shower gel with no scent and I couldn't find one, that's what really the light bulb went over my head. And I thought, okay, this could be what I kind of the framework that I hang everything else off of.
so in the beauty industry, is it like, these days what I hear, and I've spoken with a few of the beauty brands, some brands are completely all natural, some are around aromatherapy, so which
Yeah.
I'm assuming has the scent aspect to it.
Mhm.
And then you're talking about products without any scent. Can you give me a little bit of a landscape of like what is it really just about different people wanting different products at different price points? And just
Um,
targeting that different demographics or something different.
certainly that's part of it. I don't know about the different price points part because as a small company, I don't have the same economies of scale as some of my larger competitors. So, I do really well on some prices, but on others, I don't. Really, where we excel is with people there's actually a couple different things about it being fragrance free. One, for myself, I have sensitive skin and I have a reaction to perfume oils, and pretty much everything out there, when you look at a product that has a scent of any kind, it is almost guaranteed to be a synthetic perfume oil that comes out of a lab. Not that that's a bad thing. Other companies do well. Some people love those scents, apple blossom and blue raspberry and all those things. For someone like me, I can't actually have those in my product. So for all the people with sensitive skin or who just don't like scent, I offer a fragrance-free line for them. Now, ironically, we do also offer a lot of aromatherapy. We do offer scent. We offer pure essential oils, so no synthetic perfumes. And what I've done is I took a page of the book from when I was at Bare Essentials many years ago, and it's something they had dipped their toes in that I quite liked. We offer all the essential oils in our shops and online, and give people the opportunity to custom blend. Sorry, the lights go off in my studio if I don't move. Is the light okay, or do I need to get up and wave my arms?
It's a little bit dark, but if you need to move around, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
So
cool.
silly. I have to do that every 7 minutes or so.
Oh,
My assistant just left, so no one else is moving. Um, it actually opened up a really interesting piece for me, a piece of the puzzle, this not having scent part. Part of it is the elimination of purely synthetic product. There's really, if you see the word perfume or parfum or fragrance on an ingredient list, it's almost guaranteed to be synthetic. So I'm eliminating one more synthetic product from the supply chain with all of the inherent problems with it. It's also ironically, in skincare, perfume oils are very drying. So to see a facial moisturizer that has perfume as an ingredient is somewhat ironic because it does the opposite of what the product's supposed to do. It also kind of accidentally opened up a market that I didn't even quite realize. Now, it's obviously I'm a man. I'm in a business that is usually considered to be more female oriented, although men do have the same skin and should also be moisturizing. What it opened up for me was an opportunity to market to all those guys out there who might not otherwise want to put on moisturizer or to worry about their skin, because often it is the scent and only the scent that separates women's skincare from men's skincare.
mm,
We all have the same skin,
mm.
and honestly, the only thing that separates them in the marketplace is how other marketers present their product. Like, this smells like wood, it must be for a man. This smells like a flower, it must be for a woman. If you eliminate those artificial scents, that eliminates that artificial dividing line. And in effect, we all use the same product. And because there is so much talk nowadays about the meanings of gender and all that kind of thing, and the fact that so many people choose not to identify one way or the other, it kind of fits into that niche too. That wasn't my intention, but it certainly worked out to open up the product line to everybody, basically.
That's very interesting because um, traditionally, one thing that you said is men and women have basically the same skin. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you if I think about, like, women's skin feel a little bit like they feel softer, they feel a little bit different, whereas men's skin is a little bit more tighter, I guess. You know, and rougher, I guess. And traditionally, it has already, if you're using these kind of products, people would say you're a feminine man or something like that.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I
how?
and yeah, sorry, finish your question. I tend to jump
Yeah,
in when I'm not supposed to, so please finish.
yeah. So I guess my question would be like, um, I mean, I'm curious because I don't really use a lot of these kind of products. Like, is it, if I'm not using it, is it just that I'm just leaving my skin a little bit rougher, a little bit drier, or is it like
Yeah,
I'm actually harming my skin?
I wouldn't say harming. I mean, if when it comes to certainly when it comes to sun care, for example, we all want to use SPF products. I actually don't make SPF products because they're quite difficult and quite highly regulated. So I just wear a hat everywhere I go. Um, but it's interesting about so I had a friend when I was 25, which is now 33 years ago, and they said, the best thing you could do for yourself is moisturize. And I thought,
Mm,
oh, well, that's crazy. I was never taught to do that. My mom certainly never talked about it with her three sons. But I did. I started doing it, and all I can say is 33 years later, I don't look my age. I can say that
mm,
in all honesty, and um, without being big headed. It's just I don't look my age, and I can guarantee that a good percentage of the reason is because I moisturize. So sure, would I have done harm to myself by not moisturizing? Probably not. but there's certainly a great upside. Plus, why not look good? I think there's these kind of gendered roles, like you said. Oh, does it somehow feminize a man
Mm,
to use moisturizer? I would argue men do take care of themselves in other ways. It's just for some reason, guys primp and guys do their hair and guys, shape their beards a certain way,
mm,
and perhaps go to the gym and work out. This is just another way of taking care of yourself that along the way has been kind of thrown into the female camp. And
mhm.
I would argue that's not necessarily the case. For example, my favorite product, I don't have it in front of me. It's over on a shelf and I won't get it, but it's my cucumber aftershave balm.
Mm,
And I worked with my chemist. I thought, I want a product that started out as an aftershave, to soothe the skin after you shave it. I still do shave some of my face.
mm,
And I said, but why don't we make it into a real great product? Let's not just make it an aftershave. Let's turn it into a great moisturizer too. So what happened is I've got this great, it's very light, it smells great, it's real cucumber in there, and I slather it all over. So it's my
mm.
aftershave, but it's also my balm. And really it's my secret weapon in my store for guys who don't moisturize or who are maybe uncomfortable or just don't know any better. This is kind of my what is it they call it? The like the first step towards something, like the gateway. This is my
Okay.
gateway moisturizer. So you
Okay.
can so someone, let's say a guy walks in my store and isn't familiar with the ins and outs of skincare. I'm like, this is a great place to start. You shave, right? Start with your aftershave, slather it all over your face, boom, you're moisturizing. So I kind of that's how I get that's how I get people to moisturize.
Cool. Uh, Now, one part of your product line contains CBD. How are these products? And these are still seem like they're also uh, body creams and so forth. Like, uh,
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
how are these products different than your regular products that don't have CBD? Do they have like some added benefits or different things that they're
Yeah,
targeting?
I would. So that's a great question. I would argue, well, the irony of CBD, which the cannabinoids in general, is because they've been illegal for so long, there hasn't really been any legal studies of them. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now that the cannabinoids have been legalized, now my products do not contain any THC. So they're absolutely legal in all 50 states and Canada. Um, uh, there's still very little in the way of scientific peer-reviewed research papers that could say CBD does this or that, because those research um, programs were not allowed to exist. You couldn't research these quote unquote illegal chemicals. So what we go by are the things that have been studied. And I could say without making any false claims that CBD is known to be an anti-inflammatory.
Mm,
That could be said for a lot of things. Lavender oil is an
mhm,
anti-inflammatory, neroli oil. So for me, I talked to my chemist maybe 2 years ago, and she's the one that actually came to me and said, "Oh, I found this really great resource. It's organic. It's from a family-run farm in Colorado. Why don't we give it a try?" And because we're small and because we're agile, we're able to develop products pretty quickly and get them to market really kind of lightning fast. It's just a matter of designing a label, and we use pretty much the same packaging for a lot of our products to try to save and to be more sustainable. So it really wasn't that difficult to say, you know what? Let's do products A, B, C, and D. Let's add CBD, add cannabinoids in a particular proportion that make them efficacious, and let's put
mhm.
it out there. So we've got a body cream, we have a lotion, we have a salve, which is kind of a beeswax and olive oil kind of product you can put on your skin or your lips. It's really what it does is I, for example, have arthritis in one of my knees. I
Mm,
slather on CBD in the morning, my pain goes away. Now,
okay.
is that a universal fact? I can't guarantee. Can I, I can't
Mm,
claim to have any medical papers that prove that. But on many occasions, I've had a customer in my store or at a pop-up that I do a booth at, and they say, "Oh, let me put some on and I'll be back later if it worked." And they come back
mm.
later because it worked.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think it's very similar to, I mean, recently, I don't know if you found this news. There was this news about this hair growing medication, minoxidil or Rogaine, which is called.
Mhm.
and usually it's prescribed in the spray format, right? Like you spray it on your head. But similar thing happened where doctors were prescribing the tablet form, like the you can take the tablet for some other things,
Mhm.
and they realized that actually the tablet form in very low doses is more efficacious in terms of growing hair than just the spray alone. And so it's kind of like this anecdotal evidence, even though it's not authorized
Right.
by FDA. People or
Exactly.
doctors were finding that. So I guess until there are studies or there are official ways of monitoring the effect of CBDs, it will really be just anecdotal evidence of people saying, yes, I
Yeah,
use
so as
this
long
and
as we
it's.
don't, yeah, as long as we don't make medical claims, which I don't do anyway because I'm not a doctor, then we're good. Now I have to stand up and make my life go back on. I should have hired my assistant to stick around for an hour to just stand up and make movement. So yeah,
um,
the thing about the CBD is because it does have, even though it is absolutely legal in both the US and Canada, the financial institutions are slow on the uptake. They're very fearful that the law might change and that they'll suddenly be working with companies selling illegal products. So even with online companies like Shopify, who host my website, they're not opposed to CBD. It's their banks that are. And there are quite a few online marketplaces that we belong to that we're not allowed to sell CBD, even though it's legal. So it's going to take a couple years for that to kind of catch up with it. But in the meantime, I have to have two websites instead of one.
and we'll get into like how do you actually drive traffic to those sites, with this challenge that you have to maybe do everything twice, maybe. I don't know. But
Yeah.
when you were starting out this business, you said it really kind of forced you because you were forced out of a job. Or what kind of investment did you make in the beginning? Was it you were saying you started with one product. Was it
Mhm.
like a manageable investment, and how did you manage it? Was it your own personal money? Can you share a little bit about that aspect of
It was well, a couple things happened. One was, um, like I said, I had worked at all the big companies beforehand. There's quite a few retailers that are based here in the Bay Area. So I did have very good credit, and that helps when you're trying to start a business and you don't necessarily have cash. You end up using credit cards. So the good news is that a lot of the service providers I worked with in the beginning were just people I had relationships with. This is the number one thing I tell people. I actually had a local high school send some kids through our office building this week. Um, under the guise of getting Halloween candy, but really they were asking us questions about business.
it?
And I said to them, the one thing, if I could instill one thing in you today, it's that it's all about making relationships. Um, my dad told me this. It's about like making friends on the way up because you never know who can help you, who you can help in return. Um, and when I started, like I said, I picked up the phone and talked to chemists that I'd worked with years before who were willing to work with me until things started flowing. I didn't have any cash flow in the beginning. I was able to, my copywriter was someone that I had worked with at my previous job. My graphic designer was someone that I had worked with at my previous job. These were people that, because we had relationships, were either willing to let me pay on time or wait and take product as barter. I still do that occasionally. I've got some product photographers I work with who um, will only take half the money in cash and the rest in product. So we kind of
Hmm.
have this ongoing barter system. So it's, because of these relationships, it made it quite easy for me. We also found a small space in San Francisco when we started that was, comparatively low rent. It was a tiny little shop, but it was big enough that I was able to get everything done. And in this one little storefront, we did all of our filling, all of our labeling, all of our shipping, and had a little, tiny little storefront for people who walked in off the street. So it was really just, and of course, having credit cards certainly helped to do. I had to buy bottles, I had to get labels printed,
Hmm.
but a lot of it had to do with just working with people I knew and who I had working relationships with.
So, because you had been in the industry for such a long time, you had the confidence that if I do create this product line, you knew how to bring customers in or how to get distribution. I mean, I guess that's my second question.
Right.
Like,
Well,
how did you
yeah.
get your first customers?
Um, that's a great question. I want to jump back one thing for the thing about starting up.
Mm,
A lot of companies will go to their bank, their personal bank, and say, "Hey, can I get a business loan?" And a lot of people will be turned down because
mm,
they don't want to subsidize a new business. There's an organization here in San Francisco. It's called Working Solutions, and what they were able to do working so that is not the name of it, it is Working Assets. Oh my god, I said the wrong thing.
mm,
um, and they basically are a nonprofit that helps startups. There are actually a lot of organizations, both non-governmental and governmental, that help startups. So in this case, it was a nonprofit organization that gives low interest loans to startups who've been turned down by the banks. There was also a program in San Francisco run by the government that allowed you to hire people who were currently on public assistance, and the
mm,
city would subsidize their wages. So there are programs out there, both governmental and non, to help startups. You just kind of need to go online and figure it out. And
mhm,
hopefully you're in a metropolitan area that will provide those kinds of resources. But your next question, to move on, was about getting customers. Um, I strongly believe that the place to start was in a retail store.
mm.
I had worked for some big online retailers. I mean, I'm older. My retailers were catalog retailers. I
Okay.
still call my online orders mail orders, even though they're
Mm,
not mail orders anymore.
mhm,
Um, but I felt strongly that because your website's new and you've got to do all sorts of things to build it up and get SEO and do all those things
mm,
and pay for advertising, I thought, let's just get a storefront. So
mm,
that was the thing that started. And by having a storefront, not only did it allow people to walk in just as they're walking down the street or waiting for the streetcar, but it also provided a level of credibility that I don't know that just having an online presence would provide. If I were to reach out to a local newspaper or one of the websites that talk about skincare, if you say, "Oh, we have a shop in San
mm,
Francisco,"
mm,
I think that adds a lot of
mm,
credibility. Like, oh, you're not just some fly by night, or oh, you're not just um, somebody working out of your garage. Not that those are bad things. For a time between stores, I was also working out of my garage. But
mm,
but I was lucky enough to be able to find a place that allowed me to have a little storefront. It gave me an address. It gave me something I could refer to. I could take pictures in my store. Um, and it added, I could join the neighborhood association and piggyback on the other merchants' advertising capabilities. So for me, that was a really great way to jumpstart the business, was to
That's
just have
awesome.
a.
Um, so you started in your own, you created your own shop. Is right now is your e-commerce, like what is working better for you? Is your shop still, is your retail storefront still the biggest driver of your business, or is now e-commerce really the one that, because with
Oh
e-commerce
God.
you can really.
Can I choose? Mhm. Can I choose option three? It's neither. My biggest business right now is wholesale.
Okay,
So
wow.
for many, many years, I moved my store. I'm actually part of a collective on Valencia Street, which is quite a nice, charming shopping area in San Francisco. And I actually share my store with a friend who does home decor. So it's actually a little bit of a collective. It's both skincare and home decor. Um, I like collaborating with other people, so it's a perfect model for me. We get to share everything. For the many, many years, it was about 75 to 80% of my business. Valencia Street's quite popular, and it was a nice place to be. Um, Online kept picking up. Then the big shutdown happened in 2020. The store closed for a while. Even when it reopened, it was very severely cut back hours. And so online flip-flopped. I put all my resources into online. And then I started marketing my products to other retailers online. I did some trade shows, but mostly online.
Mm,
And not just my fully formed, like full size, here's a shampoo, it didn't come out because it's blurred out. But also I sell my products in bulk and let other retailers use my base formulas to put into their own bottles. That is now more than 50% of my business, is just shipping to other retailers. So it's kind of magical. It's not something I ever really planned for. I knew I wanted to do wholesale. I always had wholesale going on in the background,
Hmm.
but in the last 2 years, it's really become a major driver of my business.
What are the main key ingredients that you use? So you said other businesses or brands are using your base products. Um,
Mhm.
is it the raw materials for this? Are they pretty basic? Are you getting it from within US, or are you just something that you can get from other places?
Yeah, well, I mean, basic could be used as, I mean, I like to say that there's maybe 5 or 6 main ingredients that I love to use in my formulas. There's simple things that everybody knows. Aloe vera, everybody knows aloe vera. I bet 90% of people have it in their cupboard, just a bottle of aloe vera. Shea butter, which is a really wonderful nut butter. It comes from a tree in West Africa. Jojoba oil, which comes from a plant in the Southwest. Um, Olive oil is a great one too. Lavender oil. These are kind of basic things that show up in pretty much every formula I make. You can find aloe and shea butter specifically. Um, it's not brain surgery. These are ingredients that have been around forever. Obviously, they're natural. They're plant based.
Hmm.
Excuse me while I jump up again. And these problems like our skincare, just dry skin, whatever it is, were solved centuries ago by humans who figured out that if you break open an aloe plant, it'll help heal a cut earlier. Or if you squeeze the oil out of a lavender flower, it'll help you sleep better at night if you drop it on your pillows. So this is not brain surgery.
Hmm.
Where it comes down to being difficult for people is actually turning it into a formula that you could squeeze out of a bottle onto your hand. So,
Hmm.
it's easy to say to somebody. So here's an example. During the shutdown, when everybody was talking about hand sanitizer was flying off the shelves.
Hmm.
Now, technically, hand sanitizer is when you say something is a sanitizer and kills 99% of germs, you're making a medical claim. So
Hmm.
suddenly a sanitizer is an FDA regulated product and you need one of those
Hmm.
little drug labels on it. Well, that's above my pay scale.
Hmm.
We're not trying to create something that has a drug label on it. So we instead told people how to make sanitizer at home. You buy
Hmm.
some isopropyl alcohol, you buy some aloe vera, maybe you add a little bit of essential oils for your own benefit, lavender, sandal, whatever you like. Shake, 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 you have hand sanitizer.
Hmm.
So people could do that for their lotion too. I have a lot of people who say, I love olive oil. I just put olive oil on my face. That's
Hmm.
great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What we do, and what our competitors do too, is we turn it into something that people can more easily use in a final form. A lot of people don't want to like go into the cupboard and pour olive oil onto their hands to moisturize every night. People have a certain they want a lotion with a particular consistency. They want something to have a certain, you know, not just olive oil is like it's like if you eat the same thing every day. Yeah,
Hmm.
if you eat broccoli, that's healthy and that's great, but you need a rounded diet.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about my skincare. You could put just olive oil on your skin all day long. It won't hurt you, but there's so many other things we could be putting in there that would also benefit you. So what other retailers are coming to me for in that case is I put it all just in one big bottle and all they have to do is like decant it and sell it to
Hmm.
their own clients. There's also a new movement, and I've got at least 20 wholesale clients that do this. They just put my gallon jug with a giant pump in it on
Hmm.
the sales floor and they just sell refills. There's a significant number of businesses that have been started in the last couple of years that have the word refill in their title.
Okay.
And it's not just in America. I've got Canadian customers, I've got British customers who were literally just taking my
Hmm.
my big jug with a giant heliotrope label, it says 1 gallon, and they stick it out, and people come in with their empty jars and bottles and just do
Yeah.
refills. So um, that's a significant movement. Now that is really new. I know someone tried to do that in San Francisco maybe a decade ago, and did not succeed. People weren't ready for that model now, but we do
Yeah.
refills in our stores. We always have. What's different is that there's now these emporiums that have started that's all they do. They just sell things in bulk.
Yeah. Because that's probably more sustainable, and you're not selling a plastic bottle every time, and those kind of things.
Absolutely.
And
And why it's working now is I just think because people are more aware. 10 years ago, that shop that tried to do it in San Francisco, I forget their name. They were ahead of the curve. I don't think
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
thought about it. And now
Yeah.
everybody's thinking about it. So it just makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I think timing definitely does matter a lot. One quick question about the beauty industry. So a lot of things that you said, in terms of ingredients and these kind of things is, of course, they're, as you said, they've been around for a long, long time, and really basic things that definitely make a difference. Um, a lot of the big beauty companies, I suppose, when they add like these extra synthetic ingredients, and then they basically, in a way, sell the dream that, if you use this, it's going to reduce your wrinkles over time, or, anti-aging and all these things. Are they really just snake oil salespeople selling the dream?
No, I mean maybe some of them are. I don't know every single one of these companies, but I would argue they're not. I bet these things really do work. I bet when a big company comes along and buys $1 million worth of ads on television, and they say that this is proven in studies to increase elasticity in skin, I bet it's true. Now, the key difference between us is that there are other more natural ingredients that will also naturally increase elasticity in skin. And I think certainly for me, and I can say from my clients, I would rather use something natural than something lab made. Is the lab made thing better or worse? I don't even need to make a value judgment about that. I can just say that from my perspective, I'd like to have something that's not made in a lab.
Okay. So let me switch the subject a little bit towards marketing and customer acquisition and so forth, at least from the direct to consumer side of things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you have two websites, and the people who come to buy your products online, how are you doing any marketing? Is it completely organic? Are you doing social media, any of those things? And how do you manage the two different sites and bringing people to two different places?
Yeah. So yeah, it's all of the above. It's
Okay.
everything. Um, Marketing can be done um, with little money and a lot of effort, or with a lot of money and a lot of effort. I mean, you could. The problem is if you want to go down the road of paid advertising, it is extraordinarily expensive. Specifically in an industry like mine. If I wanted to do Google AdWords, and we've done this over the years, I've worked with a number of different ad agencies over the years. It's difficult because the big department store companies of the world are paying, you know, dare I say, 100 to 1,000 times more per word than I can in my little, like, when I bid for a keyword on Google. There's just, it's very difficult to compete in that
Mhm.
arena. To say it's like putting on a local radio ad from your local radio station or a Super Bowl ad on TV. It's that kind of thing. Like I could do a little text-based Google AdWord campaign that's very cheap, that gets me very few results. Or if I try to ramp up and do visual ads with movement or whatever it is. I mean, the word moisturizer is one of the most expensive words you can pay for when you do paid advertising. So what we've tried to do is everything else. So one thing that has been very successful for us to get traffic is to try to do, well, it's twofold. It's natural SEO, it's organic SEO. We write a lot of blogs, and in our blogs, we're trying to not just inform and not just create content and not just give people a reason to visit and to educate. I mean, we like to think our blogs are educational, but the Google loves new content and loves blogs and loves consistency. So if we can, and I've had friends over the years write blogs, I've had paid people write blogs, I've written blogs. Um, it doesn't have to be like a dissertation, and it doesn't have to be like a book report. It could just be from the heart, a couple paragraphs about why I love lavender,
Mhm.
which I've written many of those kinds of blogs. But I found that the top pages that people enter my site through are all blog entries that are years old, because people keep clicking on two examples. One is why is sandalwood oil good for you? And another
Mhm.
is I don't know what it was called, the top 5 reasons why rose oil is great for aromatherapy, whatever it
Mm,
is. But you look at your reports every single week, and that's what people are still clicking on. So it's about generating content, which everyone can do. I mean, anyone who's starting a business can write a blog. Again, if you set yourself up that, oh, it's got to be the best blog out there and it's got to be read by the most people, it doesn't. It just needs to be consistent, it needs to be authentic, and it needs to be original. And everybody can do that. You could write just a couple paragraphs a week on why your products are great or what's going on in the neighborhood around my store this week. It could be anything, but we try to do that. And lately we've really been trying to push social media, but it's hard. It's something I'm not native to it.
mm,
I certainly scroll through Instagram on my own, but to create content is not something that comes naturally to me. So I hired a friend who has a marketing company just recently, and we just started working on um, creating content, doing short videos, taking pictures around the studio, things like that, and trying to put together a plan on how to best utilize the various channels.
awesome. Um, I completely forgot the question I was going to ask you, but yeah, so you mentioned, a lot of the people enter through these blog posts and they're searching for like these
Right.
specific things. Um,
Mhm.
when you think about your target market, I mean, there have to be a certain kind of people who are actually looking for, these certain kind of things. What is the rose oil good for, or other things. Do you now
Mhm.
have a better understanding of your target market, the persona of the customer who buys your products?
Well, it's hard to say because so much of it is organic to the site, and I'm not checking demographics. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, is my customer, it's probably 2 to 1 female to male, but I can't really guarantee that. I think even with the blogs, what I have found about my clients is that they are interested in ingredients. They're choosing a company like mine versus a big department store brand because multifold. Maybe they do care about ingredients. Maybe they want things to be all natural. Maybe they like supporting small businesses. Um, Maybe they like supporting local. I mean, we make everything here in the Bay Area. That's a really big selling point for us, is that we're local. So what I can say is that the clients we have are interested in those kinds of things. And dare I say, a lot of people are making a choice just where they want to spend their money. And
Hmm.
they'd rather go to a small local company. Maybe they know the owner because they've been in the store, or maybe they just like the fact that we're making things in the Bay Area, or maybe they really do delve down into the ingredient list and read it and say, oh gosh, I like how much essential oils are a part of this formula. Any of those things. But I think people are much more aware about how they spend their money lately, and they want to make smart choices.
So you definitely have like a full-fledged business with, e-commerce and retail and wholesale and, marketing. What does your team look like right now? How are you managing all of these different things? And what do you focus on in your business?
Well, the thing I like most is talking about my talking about my products. Um, what people tell me I should be focusing on is creating new products. Everybody's like, what's new? What's coming down the pike? Oh, you're on a new
Mm,
website. What's coming out for the holidays? Well, we don't really have holiday focused skincare. I mean, so
mm,
much of that is like if I were another store in a mall, maybe I would introduce cranberry or
mm.
pumpkin spice lotion. We're not doing that. So instead, I'm really trying to focus on the social media stuff. I'm trying to think more about um, how to present ourselves. What can I do to be a good spokesperson for the company? What are people interested in looking at? It's my understanding, I'm not a 17-year-old, but it is my understanding that a lot of people love to watch unpacking videos or love
Mm,
to watch the videos of all that behind the scenes stuff. So
mm.
I'm giving a lot of thought. Like, what is it that we do on a day-to-day basis? My assistants here, or the people who work in the store over in San Francisco, what can we do to just kind of make fun, interesting content for people and still be authentic? I don't want to just do it just for the heck of it and become, God knows I don't want to become an influencer. But I think there's a way that I could authentically be out there and be myself and represent the company and try to do it in a way that gets us more recognition, or certainly gets our name out there so people can recognize it. But honestly, a lot of the stuff I spend my day-to-day job doing is all the operations stuff. I mean, I don't have an operations person really, so I'm ordering supplies and I'm doing the books, and on Sunday nights I'm taking out the garbage, and it's not really glamorous, but that's the life of a small business owner, and that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to do those things. I'm paying bills, I'm managing money between my bank accounts. So I'm doing all the things people do at home, running their own lives. I'm just doing it maybe on a bigger scale.
Have you ever tried going like the big box retail kind of distribution? Something like, Whole Foods that is focusing on natural ingredients and those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. We've actually, in the past, we were in Whole Foods, actually.
Okay.
There was a movement before the Amazon takeover where every local Whole Foods had, as part of its buying budget, the ability to buy local. So they depended on X% of their business stuff that the buying office would buy, and then a smaller percentage was stuff that each individual store could bring in. And I was in quite a few stores in the San Francisco Bay Area for a while. And then after the takeover, that system wasn't in place any longer. I think there was less and less local control or local input.
Hmm.
So, but I did just get approved to be on a rather large online platform, not Amazon, but another similar kind of department store online. If a big box store wanted me, I would love to say yes. I'm not opposed to them, but one of the issues that I've come across is it's not capacity, because we can actually do capacity. We can build up our production, and it's not following all the various rules like putting UPC codes on things, because we can do that too. Um, what I found is there's a certain amount of necessary, God, how do I put this into words? There's a lot of stuff that goes into the relationship with a big box store where
Hmm.
you have to, in some cases, pay them money to get shelf space, or
Okay.
kick in marketing money in order to be featured,
Hmm.
or various things like that that really take someone who, like, if I had a dedicated marketing person or a dedicated wholesale customer person, wholesale customer service rather, then that is something we could probably handle. As it is now, a lot of those things are just too time consuming for me. So I've chosen instead to focus on market. The wholesale marketplaces allow me to sell to other retailers who are small like me and who have needs like mine and who I'm very comfortable speaking with.
Hmm.
Um, so, but again, if, a Sephora, let's say, or someone like that were to come to me and say, we want to do this, I would certainly figure out a way to do it. Like I said, we were in Whole Foods before, and we've been in some other smaller chains. We were in a bunch of airport stores for a while. A lot of people who are part of bigger organizations, it just adds another layer of complexity to the relationship.
In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always lessons learned, mistakes made, um, failures. What have been, looking back, what are some of the big or one biggest mistake or lesson learned that you can think of, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your mistakes?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. I actually don't think I've made any bad mistakes that I regret. I mean, obviously, as long as you learn from your mistakes. It's like I was in my kid's school last week for some presentation, and they had this sign up on the board about like classroom rules, and one of them was, let's all make marvelous mistakes. And
Mm,
I thought that was a really cool way of putting it in
mm,
my kid's fourth grade class in Berkeley, California. Because a marvelous mistake is one that you make that you're not ashamed of, that you learn from. So, should I have spent money on that one particular thing? Should I have put that on a high interest credit card? Maybe not. Really, the ones that I regret, I try not to have a lot of regrets, but one of the things I've regretted really had to do with interpersonal relationships
Mm,
more so than wasting money on something or buying a system I shouldn't have bought or creating a product that nobody wanted. But there were two different occasions, I won't get into the gory details, where I created a business relationship with someone who I thought was a friend at the time. And friends are friends and aren't always the greatest business partners.
mm,
And in one case, it was a very close business relationship that really just went sour and took many years to kind of get out of. We're all happily uncoupled after all that. And another was, like I said, on my store in the city is a collaboration with another retailer. We were actually in a different collaborative location before that with another retailer, and that also was getting into bed with somebody that you thought could be supportive and mutually beneficial, and instead was, um, let's just say wasn't. Let's just say was not what you thought it was. So, and they're the kinds of things that I don't know that you could learn from.
mm,
Oh, I shouldn't have used a high interest credit card. Okay, you've learned from that. Don't do it again.
mm,
Or
mm,
I shouldn't create a product that uses such and such ingredient. You learn from that. But making a mistake about getting into a business relationship, it's like dating the wrong person. You don't know until you're in it, and then you realize, okay, it's the wrong thing. How do I get out of it? So
yeah.
again, I think most of the things I've talked about are relationship based,
Mhm.
and including the mistakes. So
Okay. No, I think that's a really great thing. I mean, a lot of the times it's almost like you can't predict it. It's like a hit or a miss, right? Sometimes I hear some
yeah.
founders find co-founders which they've just met, they don't know anything about, and it works great. Sometimes, people for a long time and you get into something and it doesn't work out. So now we're
Yeah,
going
you
to
never
move
know.
on.
You try your best.
Yeah, now we're going to move on to our rapid fire round. I know we're running out of time. In this segment, I'm
It's
going to
okay.
ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer them maybe in a few words or one or two sentences. The first one is one book recommendation for entrepreneurs, and why?
Mm. I knew you were going to ask that. I don't have a book recommendation. I have never read a book on business in my entire life. I started in retail right out of college, and the best lesson I ever learned was just learning it on the ground. If you're in college and something interests you, go try to get an internship. If you have a cousin who has a business, see if you've got a couple hours a week you can help out. That's how you learn everything. I really don't think anything I've gotten out of a, let's just say I haven't read a business book, and I'm doing
Okay,
fine. We'll
okay.
leave it at that.
Okay. I mean, I was going to ask you, I didn't, but was because it seems like, some entrepreneurs start off really early in life. And there could be some benefits to that when you don't know how difficult it's going to be, or
Mhm.
that there's high probability of failures. And someone like yourself who started out, after 35 years of experience and so forth. Do you have any comments on, or did you feel any fear of failing, because you're starting out later in life or something? What was
Oh,
your,
absolutely. I was, of course, if you're not afraid of failure, there's probably something wrong with your system. I mean, you should have a healthy sense of fear about everything, but not let the fear stop you. I was a business coach for a while, a personal coach and a business coach for a while, and one of the main things I tried to get across to people is even if you have fear, that's fine. Just don't let it stop you in your tracks. Like, go ahead and it's not about having courage. It's about just overcoming your fear. That being said, um, I am very thankful. I started this in a very lucky period of time. It was right after the big financial crisis of 2008. And here in the US, unemployment insurance was extended and it gave people a much bigger safety net or a much longer safety net. Um, I had, I was very lucky at the time and I'm very thankful for it. Not everybody has the opportunity or the ability to leave their job and start something new. So if you can figure out how to make it work, great. And, don't kill yourself if you can't. Sometimes circumstances just don't work out that way. I was very lucky.
Okay. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
Well, I'm excited about there's this new movement. It started a couple of years ago where wholesale trade shows are moving online. There's a couple companies, one in particular that has been a great relationship for me is fair.com.
Mm.
And they're local, they're here in San Francisco, although they're international now in scope. A lot of people, either because they don't want to or they're not capable of doing it, traveling to trade shows. It used to be everybody went to New York for, twice a year for the Housewares show, or you went to Chicago for the whatever. A lot of people don't want to do that. So now, if you're a small retailer in Peoria, you can literally go online to one of these many sites who have different kinds of areas of specialty, and you can buy the same thing that the big boys are buying. You can shop wholesale in the comfort of your own store.
Mm.
And I think it's a great move. It's certainly as a retailer, it's allowed me to buy things from my store that I don't have to schlep to New York to buy. And as a wholesaler, it's just been amazing. It's so much less time and money invested in doing trade shows. It's really, it was a great idea. And a lot of people are doing it nowadays.
Yeah, fair is definitely great. Uh, a business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend, or a productivity tip?
I'm probably the worst person to ask because I work all the time. And when I wake up, the first thing I do is check my work email. So I'm
Mhm.
probably not the most productive person in the world. You know what I've been doing lately? I'll go probably with an unexpected answer. One thing I've been trying to do recently is take a break in the middle of the day and go do something physical. I'll take a yoga class, or I'll walk around, or I'll do something. I started doing aqua aerobics recently for my
Okay.
arthritis, and it's nice. You feel really young when you take those classes because everyone's like 80. But again, not everybody's able to do this, but if you can get up away from your desk at least once a day, go out to lunch, go walk around the block. It doesn't just help for your physical health to like get
Mm.
up and move around, but for your mental health, it clears you out. You can continue to think about work, but maybe come back refreshed with a different perspective.
Mm.
So
Cool.
for me,
Very,
that makes me more productive.
very nice. A peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the building that I'm in right now, I'm in Oakland. It's called the Art House, and it's a big co-working kind of space where there's a lot of us that are in here that are makers, and we each have our own. I have about 1,000 square feet here. I'm not going to show you because it's a mess.
Mm.
Um, but there's a gentleman who has a real estate development company. His name is Riaz Talpin, and you could think of him as just like, oh, he's just my landlord, but he has this great vision of bringing together these communities. And I feel like coming into this really cool building every day, it's covered in a really beautiful artwork on the outside. Everybody knows the building if they see it on the freeway, from the freeway. Um, and it's Riaz has put together this community where people can come in, and ostensibly it's just a place to work and have an office. But it gives me the opportunity to, instead of working alone in my studio, I'm part of a community. There are other makers down the hall. There's people upstairs who provide services. There's events that we get, there's lunches that we have. I love being part of community. At my store, I'm on the board of the local merchants association. I like being part of that. And here at the Art House, like even I have great business relationships with some of my neighbors. We've collaborated on gift giving projects. So Riaz has really built this community and has really a fascinating plan to increase the number of buildings like this in the Bay Area.
That's awesome. Final question. Best business advice you ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
Moisturize. No, that was personal advice. The best business advice, do build those relationships, find out, I know it's hard because sometimes you're in a job and you don't like your coworkers, but there are trade groups you can join. There are affinity groups you can join. I'm invited on Facebook to groups all the time or on LinkedIn that are kind of trade specific. If there's something you're interested in, there are people in that same field who like talking about themselves and who like
Hmm.
talking about their work. And, if you are interested in, let's say, skincare, you can find groups, just Google them locally. Oakland, California Skincare Trade Organization, or even the Chamber of Commerce. Every city has a Chamber of Commerce. It's a place to start. Um, and there are experts in your field or in related fields who want to help. And it's just a matter of being open and finding them because they really are out there.
Well, JP, that was really great. Thank you so much for joining me today. Those were all the questions that I had. So thank
Absolutely.
you again for sharing your story and sharing, a little bit about your business journey and advice for other entrepreneurs. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or buy your products, what is the best way they could do that?
Best way is to go to our website. It's Heliotrope SF, so HELIOTROPE, and SF like San Francisco.com. And yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much. It was great being here. I really enjoyed my time with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much again for joining me today at Trip.
Hey, thank you. Take care now.